Hey, this is Seagrove, and I'm here today with Tord Reklev. We're going to be talking about deck building. I think you probably don't need much of an introduction, but if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself just in case.
Hey, I'm Tord from Norway. Won a couple internets, and now mostly focusing on school, but probably still know a lot about the game.
Okay, cool. Are you still playing in internets?
I'm gonna play in Germany now in April,
Okay,
and there will also be at NA, so you can see me
okay,
there for sure.
awesome. So you famously built a few decks that did very well. Some you were working with other Europeans, and some were mainly just you and a testing partner or two. Drampagarb, uh, Zoroark Control, Zoroark Galisopod is the big one, and then which really changed, made a completely new way of making decks. And even Zoroark Gardevoir to an extent, it sounds like. Why don't you talk to us about your role first in those decks, in building those decks?
My role. I wasn't really well known before I did well at the first NA.
Mm-hmm.
And I played Jumper Garb. Just played a really consistent version of the deck. And I cut all the tech cards that were usually used in it and added more of like the core cards, more of
Yeah.
the Rampas, the Lelas, the Joe supporters. So basically, just more of the consistency engine
Mm-hmm.
and in trade for less options and tricks, basically. Just
Okay.
want to make sure my deck was doing the same thing every game, basically.
Right. And was
Which
was that is that something that you still see as a problem with top deck builders? Do you think that consistency is still cut too often for cute techs?
um, yes, but I think like the deck building lately has seen much more streamlined than before.
Okay.
Like the whole of last year, really, it seemed like people are more leaning towards just really straightforward, consistent decks nowadays, and they have much less tricks than they used to have. I feel
Okay.
so people really favor this type of deck building more now.
And this.
Like that's the impression I got at least.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think so.
Mhm.
So first you made Drompa Garb, and who helped you build Drompa Garb?
Uh, so long ago.
Yeah.
I mostly remember working on the deck my own.
Okay.
So like the translations for Lela and the Garbodor, and I was like, I just want to make a quad Lela Garbodor deck. That seems really strong, really consistent. What
Yeah.
can even compete with that? Then I take like the one Trampa. I was like, oh, this is a pretty good attacker. Maybe I should have another one. And
Mm-hmm.
then soon became like the main deck.
Okay.
It was just really good.
So you just saw it, and you're
So
like, this seems consistent.
I just play that deck uh, like crazy for weeks and weeks,
Yeah.
all the time, and like wanted to perfect the list and fine tune it. And I was pretty happy with the result in the end, even though the list looked pretty weird. Played for Lele, but
Yeah.
I found like uh, not having access to Lele lost me the most games, so
Okay.
just maxed it.
And how many Lele did you start off with when you built the deck? Was it four?
Uh, yes, it was actually four. It was four the whole time.
Okay.
Pretty sure. Because my original intention was to make a quad Lele Garbodor deck
Yeah.
with no Drampas, right? So I wanted Lele to be the main attacker as well. And then Garbodor if your opponent went too fast.
It sounds like you
So
played a lot of games and changed it over a lot of games. How many games do you think
yeah,
you put on it?
a lot. I was one of the decks I actually played the most, I think. I just remember playing it every day for weeks, honestly, with
Wow.
friends and some local tournaments. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it.
Cool. The second one was Zoroark Galisopod, and this is the one where you famously put in like a lot more hours than other people testing.
Oh yeah, I really try hard for that phone.
Yeah. So talk to us about the deck building process with Zoroark Pod.
Um, initially, I just wanted to do well in London because I was next internets after NA, and I really wanted to like show that I wasn't the one hit wonder. So I really wanted to do well at the next one again. So
Hmm.
I put in a lot of time, and I saw the translation of Zoroark, and I was like, it seems okay. But then playing one game against it, just someone had like a 2-2 line of it in some random deck, right?
Hmm.
And he got a boat, and I was like, I can't actually win anymore. It's impossible. This gives him so much control.
Right.
This card is crazy. Why isn't everyone playing this? This is just insane. So just after that game, I was like, I'm gonna make something Zoroark. 4/4 Zoroark. I don't care. Just want my field to be all Zoroark.
Yeah.
And then just started testing various partners for it and various cards in the deck, and yeah, eventually ended up there.
How did you go to? Eventually, you went to three Bridget, I believe,
Yes.
and like one or two Sycamore and four N, I think is what it was. I don't remember exactly, but
Yeah.
high end, high Bridget, low Sycamore. How did you certainly cut down the number of draw supporters in general? How did you get down to that low count?
It was basically just a product of testing the deck like crazy as well. I think I started with like more common numbers back then. I had like 4N for Sycamore, one or two bridges or something. And then eventually I was like, okay, you need bridges to actually start the game so you can set up and do something, right? So
Yeah.
add a couple more. Nowadays, even three seems kind of greedy, right? Nowadays, you want four of them, and you want Evil Soda, which I didn't even play back then.
Right.
But and was still pretty new to the whole concept of Zoroark and how much you can actually lean on the trade ability.
Right.
Um, so it was still like in experiment phase. So even though I put in a lot of games, I still couldn't find like everything for it.
Right.
But I think like the key cards I missed was Evil Soda, Prowl City. And the deck really wanted to beat Garbodor, so I still had a lot of supporters in there. Garbodor was still highly played, like Garbotox and N, so
Yeah.
still had a lot of raw draw supporters. And even the 4 Field Blower just really wanted to murder Garbodor decks.
Right. Cool. And then I think my understanding, you can correct me if I'm wrong, was Zoroark Gardevoir was more of a Schultz invention. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was like Philip and me started to test the deck around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we just tried to fine tune it and was like, the archetype seems pretty strong. We want to play a Zoroark deck. And after London, people went on the mill train and like super hard countered Zoroark with
Mm-hmm.
Hoopa. And you can't really do much there. Resource management wasn't out yet. So
Right.
you just took a hard fat loss to that. So we had the regional. I had like my worst run ever. Got murdered by every mill deck I faced, and it was like half my round. So
Yeah.
got totally smashed there. So it was like we still want to play Zoroark, but we can't just fold to mill. So we need a new partner. So Gardevoir was the answer because you could play Gale to counter
Mm-hmm.
the safeguards and stuff. So that's how we ended up there. Yeah, it was just tested list a lot. I think I was kind of lucky because I just built a list and tested it and didn't change too many cards after testing it more and more. I tried it like all the tech cards. Philip tried a cleaner approach, but in the end, we had to play the version more similar to mine because we needed all the different tech cards for the different matchups.
Right.
And like the hammer, the max potion stuff, they all gave you flexibility against the meta game, which you could find with Mallow and puzzles anyway. So it was still pretty good and consistent.
Cool. So after that, you came up with the Zoroark mill deck, and I understood that one was also a Schultz invention, but that they abandoned and
Yeah, it
didn't
was
believe
actually
in.
was actually fun. It was like I think it was pretty sure it was Philip that wanted to play straight Zoroark for Oceania. tested it a lot before then, and eventually had to drop it. We just went with Guardian instead.
Why do you have to drop it? Just couldn't get it.
Just, I don't know. I just didn't feel like the Buzzwole matchup was strong enough, I think.
Okay.
Which is kind of weird because Buzzwole got more tricks and then we played it later. Can't remember the exact reason we dropped it, but it got dropped. But it was like almost there for Oceania even last year again.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then we started testing it again after that, and up until NA last year again, and was really good, and was basically a good answer for the metagame we thought. Buzzwole was still the hardest matchup, which we expected a lot of, but we figured that people will make mistakes because they didn't know what was going on, and we were right. It was really hard to play that matchup for Buzzwole side. It's really hard to like do something and then we can punish you super hard with the link and counter catch artillery and just something to take advantage of.
So, with NAIC, you won, or you got the second time at NAIC,
Yes.
with that control deck, and then that felt like the purest Zoroark. Like it was just Zoroark. Like as it almost was like we're trying to find the right partner for Zoroark, and eventually we realized it's just Zoroark by itself, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
Anyways, with switching out cards, what do you have to do? Like, what's the process for switching out a card? Are you playing and you just realize, like, oh, I need this card, or this card that I'm playing currently just isn't doing what I was hoping it was doing? How do you come to the conclusion that you need to change a deck as you're testing it?
It's basically that. I often try to play a lot of games, then try to figure out why I lost a game. And if it's because of a misplay, it's easy fix. You just have to try to play better next time. But it's because you can do something, like you bricked, or there was some combo in your opponent's deck you actually can't do anything with, then you should try to go in your deck list and see if you have a way to change that. Example is like a really easy example. You play Zoroark Garbodor and you play against Greninja, and you figure out that Shadow Stitching from Greninja Break is really hard. He has way too much HP, and you can't attach more energy, so you can't really do much, and he just Water Shurikens you to death. So what you do is you put in Giratina promo, and they can't use Water Shuriken, so 40 damage a turn isn't good enough, and then you win again.
Yeah.
Even though you two-shot, because he's only doing 40 damage a turn. So you try to find the cards you need, after that stay in different matchups, and also like if you see that you're bricking more than you want to, you should probably add more consistency cards.
Right.
And take out like the win condition cards, if you get what I mean. I often like sort my cards into like pure deck functioning cards and consistency cards, and cards that I can actually win you the game, like just the power cards.
Interesting.
So for example, like Choice Band is a power card that makes your deck stronger, right? Or Hammer, Max Potion, all these cards just make your deck stronger, can like give you win conditions. But cards like Nest Ball, Ultra Ball, Cynthia and stuff lets your deck function, right?
Okay.
So your deck will never win if it can't function in the first place. But your deck will never win if you don't have any win condition cards either, right? So you need like a fine balance of them.
So
So
if I'm sorting through or going through towards bulk, am I going to find Zoroark next to Ultra Ball, or is it like Pokemon? Is it just items and trainers that you supporters that you separate that way, or that's interesting to me. How you're talking about, so like consistency, win cards.
Yes.
Does that go across types, or is it like Pokemon consistency win? Trainers consistency win.
You have some Pokemon that's basically just straight consistency, like Lele, Urachi, Marshadow, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, energy, I feel like are functioning cards for the deck as well, just consistency,
Mm-hmm.
because you kind of need energy attachment every turn in most decks. But you definitely have Pokemon that are win condition Pokemon as well. Say
Right.
Absol, for example. That's a power card. That's a win
Right.
condition. That's not like a Riachi or a
Right.
Lela or something. You see the difference?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
are you organizing, like, as you separate them? Would you have them alphabetical in that, or is it just like these are good cards and they're kind of just in a group of consistency, a group of power?
Like Morel card assortment.
Yeah.
Morel card assortment is just a crazy mixed pile in a
Okay.
box. So should have a better system, but haven't come around to do that for a long time. I just basically just shuffle through them after making it really cleanly and neat on my PCGO account, right? And then I just shuffle through and get the 60 cards I need and make my deck, basically.
Nice. So when you are giving advice to people, or I don't know if you are doing that regularly, but do you have any advice for newer deck builders who want to come up with their own creations?
Basically, the easiest thing, because if you do this, you don't even have to know too well what you're doing. Even you just play a lot of games with your deck and see which cards you're actually using to win games and not. So if you really like one card but you never use it, right? If you play 10 games and you still haven't used your card, then you should probably drop that card,
Yep.
even though it could be really good against that one deck in that situation, right? And it's honestly not worth it anymore, right? So try to make sure that you actually use all the cards in your deck. If you see that the card is not used, or that the card is weak, then you should probably swap it for something better. And also, like, looking at cards can have multiple purposes. Say,
Right.
example is from like Picosec. Say you have 4 Acrobatic and 4 Nest Balls and no Arches in your deck. If you want to brick less, you could cut 1 Acrobatic for 1 Urachi. Then you will cut 1 consistency card and add another consistency card. So it won't like change much your starting hands and how you brick, but it will enable all your Nest Balls to be Urachi. So
Right.
then you actually have 4 extra outs compared to what you had before for not having a dead opening hand. So things like that. Just
Yeah.
trying to see that cards can have multiple purposes.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much for your time. It's been great. Appreciate it. Do you have any shout outs or anything you'd like to give?
Shout out to all my friends and family as usual. Limitless, Teammate Pit, yeah, everyone.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Shout out to my patrons, Caleb Vance, Dan Nelson, Pokestats. Thank you guys so much. And Alex Haney and Daniel. Appreciate it a lot. Steve, Enrico, Jess Swinson, Stefan Ivanov, Cecil, Gabe, Will, and Brian. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel, supporting me, and helping me continue to produce content, which I believe is beneficial for people who are watching. Thanks again. Peace out.